Take a moment. Our guy, Banners, James Hyden, a little bit of a car accident today. Getting X-rays right now, much like oh my goodness, look at me. I got the Jaguars Eagles box score playing music and throwing off my whole flow. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm just doing my research last minute. Banners, we're thinking of you, man. Hope you're doing all right, but unfortunately, not able to join the show tonight. It's myself and Digits holding it down, who was at the game yesterday, actually. You dry yet? You feeling all right? You soggy today?
I honestly, I still feel a little soggy today. Yeah, like I feel like I feel like I got caught in a rainstorm, and I just 24 hours wasn't enough to fully get it to sponge out.
How good did the
So,
shower feel when you got home?
oh, it was awesome. It was
Right?
next level. It was I don't know. It really wasn't that. The rain was awful. Let me get this straight. It
Yeah.
was an absolute downpour. It was as advertised hurricane, but it really wasn't that miserable in the moment, and not until like the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, I was like, yeah, my shoes are pretty wet. I'm pretty wet at this point. This kind of sucks, but it really wasn't that. It wasn't as bad as you would think it should be, for which doesn't make sense because it was bad, but it should have been like a 10 out of 10. It was more
It looked like a
like
10
a
out of 10.
7 out of 10.
All right. All
How
right. Well, I'm
bad
happy
it
you're
was.
happy you're able to enjoy it to a certain extent. Look, I know how you're doing. I'm sure you're doing fine. Whatever. We'll move right past that, man. We got an undefeated football team to talk
Only
about,
one
right?
left.
I'm good.
Only
I'm
one left.
fine. Whatever. Let's talk about the freaking football team. That's what people came to see. So, Digits, I know you were there. I'm sure the Miller Lights were flowing because I know that's like the main beer over there at the link. But I'm sure you watched the game. I'm sure you were able to get something out of the game. Because, look, man, the first three games, I feel like we learned a lot, but this was like a different look. I want you to tell me, what did you learn about this team based on that game Sunday? Give it to me.
I learned that they do definitively have the ability to make plays when it counts, right? Like we've been talking about baseball for so long, and the thing we always talk about with the Phillies is that they're not able to execute when when there's an important moment in the game, when it's 2 outs in a tie game and you have finally got a guy to second. The Phillies never get that guy home, right? I've learned that this Eagles team steps up and makes big plays when they're needed most. Example number one, the James Bradbury interception, to me, I think was truly
Yeah, man.
the game-changing moment in that game. I think once that happened, I think the Jags just truly were deflated. Like I was behind the Jags bench, I was on that side, lower level. Their energy levels were noticeably much lower. And one in stadium example I can provide is around the AJ Brown called back touchdown, right on that play.
Right.
Stadium obviously going nuts with the boos, raining down boos on the referees. Jags defensive players doing the pump it up, doing the pump it up thing.
Yeah.
That was the last time all game the Jags defense did any kind of chirping, did any kind of beckoning. I think that James Bradbury interception really deflated the Jaguars. They felt the game slipping away, and when they finally had a chance to get real footing and kind of take control again, because in a game like this, I'll be honest, you're up 14-0 in a game like this. This should be a pretty difficult game for an opposing team to come back to so easily.
Yeah.
The Eagles were able to do it in one quarter. The second quarter, Eagles are quickly turning into the third quarter Golden State Warriors from the Durant era, where it's just like, doesn't matter what happens in the first quarter, we're going to destroy you for this 25%.
It's true, though. I mean, it's true.
Regardless of what else has happened. It kind of is starting to feel like that. There's 4 games in, that's a sample size. They're number one in the NFL in points scored in the second quarter, I think by a pretty sizable.
I was just about to ask, do you have that up? Because I'd imagine it's by.
I don't have it up. Man. I can find it. I'll look for it for the
Yeah. Come back.
I know that they were number one going into yesterday, and I can't imagine that scoring 20 in the second probably doesn't keep them at the top by a pretty sizable margin. So that was the main thing, and that's just kind of the body language. Obviously, you don't really get that stuff on the TV as much. That was just my perception of it, and I think maybe other people would have different perspectives because I was close enough to see the Jags bench, right? Like I was able to kind of see what's going on in terms of like how guys are interacting with each other, looks on faces, that kind of thing. So that's what I would say would be the definitive moment. I don't know if how you kind of thought that, because it really was like the second quarter was really all the Eagles needed. Like the fourth quarter was a little bit interesting, but like that 15-minute period really that was the game. Like the Eagles,
You're right.
The Eagles played excellent on offense. They made a huge stop in the red zone on defense. They generated a red zone turnover on defense, which are the kind of plays that win you ugly close games in Hurricanes.
Excellently put, Max. I mean, it's true. I think that there's a lot to be learned from this game, almost more than the others. Well, okay, that's not true because like now after 3 games, I think you start to learn really who's who in the NFL. Like we had week 1 overreactions aplenty. We came on here and said the Cowboys are cooked and laughed at them. That's clearly not the case, right? But like, and I think after this week, you really start to learn who's who. So the first 3 weeks, it was like all new information, like, oh, wow, this team is really good. But for me, what I learned here in week number 4, 2 big things. One, this team can take a punch, which they hadn't had to do all season.
They did not face much, if any, adversity this season.
And you know, you said it, Max, like you got the elements involved also. And we were talking a little bit before. You said weather's not real, and from a betting perspective and an over/under perspective, yeah, that can be true. But you saw weather was pretty damn real for the Jacksonville Jaguars that game and Trevor Lawrence, right? So
Yeah.
I was really impressed with how the Eagles going down 14-0. Those elements really never panicked at all, and I think that comes from the top down. That comes from Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. The second thing, which I think is far bigger than being able to take a punch, is that this team, whether you know they got AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate. This is still a running football team, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's not sexy. I know it's not making all the headlines, but oh my gosh, for me personally, as the big Jalen Hurts guy, like, look, I love seeing Hurts throw the ball. I love him using the new weapons with AJ Brown. That's where the NFL is going. But to be able to both pass like that and then just dominate a game like this on the ground again, oh my God. Breath of fresh air. And for guys like you and me, Max, I know we were in the same camp going into this season. Like, what's up with Miles Sanders? Prove it. This is a prove it year for Miles Sanders. And goddamn, did he look like, I don't want to say elite, but a top running back in the NFL.
He looked great. I'll say this: the one thing that I was really having issues with live in person in the game from my particular angle was how much yardage was gained on plays. I knew Sanders scored 2 touchdowns. I was very happy. I got home and saw he ran for 154 yards.
134.
134?
Still, yeah, 134.
Still, sorry, my apologies. 134. That's still a big time performance. Big time performance. And you're right. It's not that this is a running football team. This is an offensive line football team, Josh. And just happens offensive linemen like to run more than pass block.
Man, and I'm just going to keep going. I got pulled up some of the stats from yesterday. So Sanders yesterday averaged 5 yards per carry. He was looking slippery as hell. And yeah, it was rainy, sure, but this has been a Jags team. I don't have their numbers against the run.
They have been good against the run. They I think they were, I believe it was 11th or 12th. I mean, through 3 games. But I believe they were 11th or 12th, including a game against Jonathan Taylor. Pretty good running back.
The game against Jonathan Taylor?
They held him to a very modest, I think they held him under 70 yards, and most of that came on 1 carry, if I'm remembering correctly. Jaguars have been a good run defense this year, for sure.
Game against Austin Eckler? I mean, all in all, this Jags defense has been pretty damn good, and I just loved how the Eagles were able to run it. I was a big fan of the carry share yesterday as well. How long until people are clamoring for Trey Sermon? Because I'm ready to start it right now, man. I mean, are you kidding me? This guy seems like, and it's hard because I love Boston Scott. I love Kenny Gainwell. I mean, the only reason I don't love Miles Sanders is nothing other than personal, biases against him. I can't argue with what he's doing on the field. Get Trey Sermon in this offense. Look, I don't want to take it away from Boston Scott, but people talk about a power back. Trey Sermon looked pretty damn good yesterday, man.
He did. He was impressive in his limited action. I don't necessarily think they're going to give it over to Boston Scott, but they're going to take it away from Boston Scott yet. But I'll say this: should he ever get a full-time role, it will be nice to have a power back who's taller than 5'9".
It's true. And you know what, Max? I mean, we know the bottom line. Someone's getting hurt. It sucks, but one of these running backs is going to get hurt this year, and that's a great insurance policy to have.
I'll say this: out of Gainwell, Boston Scott, and Trey Sermon, should Miles Sanders be the one, knock on wood, I would kind of say that Trey Sermon is the one best suited to fill it, to fill the bulk of the carries. I think that wouldn't be him, but I think that
I don't know if I'd go that far, Digits.
I'm just saying. I think that
All
there's a reason the guy was a high draft pick. I think that the reason he kind of flamed out in San Francisco is that maybe he's not the brightest in terms of football IQ and stuff. But he's a lot bigger and he he's a you know what I'm trying to say. Like, yes, he's obviously not as proven against Boston Scott. And if the game in question is against the Giants,
he's right. No, come on, he's right. He's right.
I'm just trying to make it interesting. I'm just trying to put the thought out there. I think that Trey Sermon still could have it in him. Talent never fades.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you, especially for that goal to go situation. But damn, man, Miles was looking really good, even in that goal to go situation. And look, real quick, something I want to touch on, like a subtopic, right? I like Trevor Lawrence and all, but do you think that the Eagles' defense was that good yesterday, or was Trevor Lawrence kind of showing his inexperience? Which, like, if you had to pick one, which one would you pick?
I honestly think Trevor Lawrence played pretty well, kind of given the circumstances. Like, he made good throws in the rain. Like, he obviously, 4 fumbles is a major issue, but like, I don't think that game would have been as terrible on paper for him if it wasn't an absolute downpour outside. Like, it's really easy. The one where he just the ball just fell out of his hand. The one on the fourth down play, like, that's a nice home bounce for the Eagles. Like, that was that was the other play that I thought that kind of started the Eagles resurgence into that game.
No, that I think that play was. I would make a case that play was a bigger change because watching that on TV, Max, they had a touchdown. I couldn't remember who it was. They had a touchdown on that play and another option that would have been a first down, and Trevor Lawrence just dropped.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I couldn't tell. So that was the far side of the field.
From
where I was sitting when that play occurred. Like, Trevor Lawrence back was to me. So bad angle for me. So thank you for the TV clarification.
So, I'm with you, though. I'm with you, and I think it
was a huge play, though. But that is the inexperience, right? Like, if he's scrambling out there, from my view, it looked like he could have ran for the first down. Correct?
Yeah, he could have probably ran for the first down too. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I mean. Like, in a game like that, you're already winning. Just put both hands on the ball, and I think that's like a huge prime example of his inexperience. But I thought that he made pretty good throws given the conditions. I don't know. I think that for the most part, his decisions were good, but then again, you gotta be a little bit more. Your clock has to move faster when it's in the rain, and it's that easy. That much easier for fumbles to happen, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just thinking about. I'm just replaying some of the sacks in my brain, and you know what? Look, I do think it is pretty 50-50, but all in all, I'm gonna go ahead and tip my hat to the Eagles, man. I mean, Hassan Reddick. He was a man on a mission. I think
the Eagles played great defense. I don't want to seem like the Eagles got lucky. Like, the Eagles harassed Trevor Lawrence for the vast majority of that game. The vast majority, he was uncomfortable, and he was making decent throws short. But anytime where he wasn't able to get the ball out in under a second and a half, 2 seconds, there were major issues for the Jags.
So we got our guy John Daniel Lazaro in here bringing up another point. Now we're talking. I really like that. I mean, maybe not like I like Kenny G as a third down back. It's just a shame, man. This is a good problem to have. We got too many running backs. So Kenny Gainwell's a good third down back. Boston Scott, I mean, you can't fault the guy who does his job so well. You know what I mean? You can't take his.
Yeah, I think John means more so like the running third down scenarios, right? Like Kenny Gainwell's playing third and long. But if you're like, you know what, 3rd and 2. You can't stop me. You put Trey Sermon. You put Trey Sermon in there behind Calcaterra, maybe.
Ooh, I like that. I could go for 4 running backs, honestly, but that's a whole different discussion. But speaking of which, kind of like going off of what we're saying, just because it's like through 4 games. I mean, every game has really been pretty different. I don't know, man. The Vikings and the Commanders game was pretty similar, but anyways, we've seen some different games. What I'm trying to say here, though. We've seen this team kind of do a little bit of everything, even pass rush. These last 2 games, the pass rush hasn't been there. Coverage is clearly there. They freaking run up and down. Jalen Hurts can pass. So, Ditches, here's my question to you. What can't this team do? Do you think, and you can't say special teams, man, because that's such a cop-out. Like,
come on. They can't special teams. Fine. I'll play by your rules. If you're
saying this team can't do special teams, then this team can do everything except We remember what the Packers did against the Niners in the playoffs, but whatever, man. Whatever.
Special
I'm not
teams
letting you
doesn't
say.
matter until it does, Josh.
I'm not letting you say special teams. Give it to me.
What don't the Eagles do well right now?
I can let you stew because I was thinking about it today.
I'll say this.
Go ahead.
I'm still hopeful on Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. The one thing that has happened, it seems like there have been some safety related back end of coverage breakdowns. I would say that to me seems like the only consistent issue I've seen with the Eagles through 4 games is that, once or twice a game, a guy just kind of runs past the corner and safety, and they haven't been burned for a long touchdown by it yet. Someone's usually able to recover, it seems, but I think we've seen that at least 2 or 3 times in 4 games, which is, it's not a lot, but it's only a matter of time until nobody catches the guy and he scores a 75-yard touchdown, right?
I mean, yeah, you're right. And actually, I'm going to pick that right up. And I kind of the same one. All right, so this is tough because it's like we haven't seen it before. The Eagles haven't beaten an elite quarterback yet. And obviously, that's no fault of this team through 4 games, right? And you go back to last year's regime. We're not going to get a chance. Let me pull the schedule until they play the Packers. But I'm just a little bit nervous because of what you're saying. Trevor Lawrence missed 1 or 2 balls. And I mean, look, it was rainy. Another quarterback might have missed those balls too. But there were some deep shots to the exact point you're making that were deep, maybe a safety issue too. But a really good elite quarterback makes those throws and puts points on the board for that. Even yesterday, I think an elite quarterback isn't throwing that interception to James Bradbury, especially in the red zone up. I'm not sure if that was 14-0 or 14-14 at that point. But I want to say 14-14.
I think it was 14-14.
But either way, I mean, you get the point I'm saying, which, look,
Kyler Murray, like a young quarterback. I mean, he's only 22 years old. Has he even played in anything that severe in his life? You know what I mean? It's
a good point.
Not many guys get that kind of weather, and early on, high school games won't usually play through that kind of weather. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, it's really your only chance, and
I mean, look, you can't. It's not apples to oranges, but it is so different playing on frickin' Clemson with all those weapons against.
For sure.
He might have played like Marshall in that weather. You know what I mean? Just throwing out a random team. It's so different in the NFL. So I mean, I think you made a good point. I'm looking at the Eagles' schedule. Unless you're calling Cooper Rush elite, they're not playing a real quarterback this season until November 27th, and they don't play a real quarterback other than Kyler Murray next week. We'll get to that in a second. I'm a little shaky on that. I know, but I'm still a little shaky on it. Digits, plain and simple. Actually, wait, real quick. John's chiming in. Not using our other tight ends as much. I want to see the other white boys on the field blocking too. LOL. Here's the thing, John. I get what you're saying, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? And Calcaterra made a good play this year. It was a couple weeks ago, right? But
yeah, he had a big catch.
Yeah, he had a big catch. I hear you, John. But
he's a hell of a run blocker.
What'd you say?
He's a hell of a run blocker from what I've seen.
Sure. Look, John, it's a fair point, but look, I'll get bothered by that when it becomes a problem. When you got AJ Brown and Devon and Smitty and Goddard, the other tight ends can stay blocking. You know what I mean? And hey, John, just wait until Tyree Jackson gets back. Then you'll see some tight ends catching some touchdowns. All right.
Best tight end unit in the league when that happens.
I love Tyree Jackson, man. Here we go. Here's a big question, man. I think you might have known it was coming, but last week we said, are the Eagles the best team in the NFC? We all agreed. Watching some football this weekend, you gotta begs the question, man. Begs the question. Are they the best team in the whole damn league right now? Give it to me. Go.
Well, the issue is that the guys I want to compare them against, I didn't get to see most of them play because the NFL absolutely butchered the scheduling yesterday and has had 9 1:00 games and 3 4:00 games. And then obviously Sunday night game was pretty good matchup. But I mean, still, I didn't really have a chance to, I know there was a lot of ups and downs for both teams in Bills.
You're talking about the Bills.
For example. The Chiefs still scare the hell out of me. They look like they're awake from game 1, which they absolutely were not last year. So the Chiefs, I would say the Chiefs scare me the most out of any team in the league right now. But we look like geniuses for saying the Eagles look like the best team in the NFC a week ago, don't we? What is anybody?
Goodness.
What is any? What the only thing that could maybe that could reel people back in is if the Rams absolutely hammer the 49ers tonight. I'm talking like
40
20 plus point beat down, never close. Like that's the only thing that could even get me to consider the Rams in the same tier as the Eagles based on 4 games of work, right? I'm very, very happy with our stances and being a pro Eagles are the best team in the NFC podcast and being sharps. That's what we do here, Josh.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. I mean, look, watching that game last night, especially, the Bucs freaking suck, dude. Like I'm ready to say that the Bucs are just not. They're not good, man. I know they played the
Chiefs right now. You know they're gonna figure it out though.
I see. That's the thing, man. I do not know that this year. It just seems to me like the whole idea of keeping that band together is a bad idea. It's like the same team from the Super Bowl. I think they're just getting a little sick of each other, getting a little tired of the whole offense and the whole defense. Like,
I mean, that's why Bruce Arians left.
Right. I mean, yeah, he's still there in spirit.
He's still there. He's still there physically too for those games, it seems.
But man, I don't know, like, because the Bucs, I took the Chiefs last night. And you're right. I think you're right. That's the reason I'm not going to say that they're the best team in the NFL. Eagles are a top 3 team in the NFL, and I can't rank any of the top 3. Is that like that's a not Josh answer? I'm usually hard and fast on rankings.
Yeah,
and stuff
that
like
is.
that.
You sound like me right now, trying to loophole your way out of a question. I'm the opposite on this. I think there's a clear top 2 teams. I think the Eagles and the Chiefs are the clear 2 best teams.
I'll go top 2 then. But I can't put one over the other right now. I won't do it. I won't do it right now. I think when we see the as healthy as they'll be version of the Bills, because they did lose Micah Hyde. So that's my thing, though, man. I don't think we're ever going to see the healthiest version of the Bills.
The Bills are going to be fine once they get their D-line back. They're missing like 3 D-line starters. They got 1 back this week, but Bills D-line just got absolutely depleted against Tennessee on that Monday night game a couple weeks ago.
Real quick, let's kind of just go off the NFC thing. What the hell, man? It's such a bad conference. Like, is it not such a bad, like the whole 16 teams in the NFC? Maybe it's just because we're not used to being like this really good team, but everyone just seems.
No, I don't think it's that. Like, I remember the Eagles being really good when we were younger, and I remember like actually fearing and respecting our division for one. The Cowboys, I guess, kind of deserve respect, but like, the Giants and the fungible tokens have been so largely non-competitive for a while, like long enough.
I'm just going to go up and down, man. I'm just going to go up and down the entire NFC and just give you a quick. All right, Saints, awful. Panthers, awful. Falcons, it's a mirage. They're bad. Buccaneers, look, they're not the worst team like I made them out to be, but I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders.
They're unconvincing.
They're unconvincing. I would not talk about them as a contender. Lions, sorry, you're still losers, even though we all like you. The Bears are dude, the Bears are
bad. Man. The Bears are a top 5 bad team this year.
I didn't see, but my favorite stat going into week 4 was that they had completed 23 passes through 3 weeks.
They had completed 8 more. I'm pretty sure, or no, 11 more. Sorry, I'm pretty sure it was 11 more.
They're just freaking funny. The Packers, gosh, man, they're just talk about not frightening. Like, right? Like in this NFC, I guess they're not bad, but they don't look good at all. The Vikings, sorry, Banners, we know you're having a rough night, but I couldn't be less convinced by a team that I was very high on this season. Like, I guess they're good. I guess they're good comparatively, but
they're a wild card team. They're a wild card team by association. Like,
yeah, no, you're right.
The Vikings are a team that is benefiting from a shallow NFC, I would say.
The Niners, I think we'll know tonight. Honestly, I think tonight's going to be really big for them. I like the Niners still, man. I think if the Niners have Jimmy G,
they own the Rams. Like tonight, if the Niners don't compete tonight, I'll be worried. Like, I don't know how they didn't beat the Broncos, who stink. Like, the Broncos are bad, I think. The Broncos are not good. They might not be bad, but the Broncos are definitely not good.
All right, moving on. Seahawks. I mean, they're just. I love the Seahawks. Like, they suck, but like I love them. They become like my darling team this year. Where I'm like, oh, look at Gino. Look at him go. The Cardinals. Dude, I know everyone hated Cliff Kingsbury, but you were the first and you were the loudest in the room, and I disagreed with you at first. And he is awful.
He's
He
bad.
is
He's
really
dumb.
one of the worst coaches I've ever seen in sports. It was so impressive. His job trying to lose the game. All right, we got winners and losers later. Let me just hold off on
Yeah,
that.
save it.
Rams, look, the Rams are decent, whatever. Commanders are awful. The Giants are bad. It's a mirage. The Cowboys scare me. Honestly, the Cowboys scare me. I think we're much better than them, but I do think the Cowboys have themselves a team. That was my quick rundown of the NFC. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, at what point do we get to say the Cowboys are better with Cooper Rush?
No, I totally disagree. We can talk about that later.
At what point?
We can talk about that later. I disagree. Real quick, Digits. Real quick, man. We got to talk about the Phillies. We have to. I'm sorry.
Go Marlins, just in case.
Yeah. Go Diamondbacks tonight. But you know what? Marlins win out for the season. We love you now.
Oh, it's the Diamondbacks.
Yeah,
I should have asked you. I put it on the graphics. Let's go Marlins, just in case. Whoops.
No. Let's go Marlins in retrospect. It's very applicable.
No, I literally wrote "Let's go Marlins" just in case, as in I thought the Marlins were. Whoops.
Oh my gosh, you got any information you want is a click away, and this guy made an ass out of you and me by assuming. So, look, man, it's so simple. I got two questions. It's a two-parter. Barring something unforeseen, which would honestly just be funny at this point.
We're not going to entertain that thought. The Phillies are making the playoffs.
Phillies are in the playoffs. The hunt for Red October is over. We have claimed it. How far can this team go, man? I mean, we're not believers. I know we're not too high on this team, but here it is. Like we've speculated earlier this season. It is October now. The calendar says
it is
10.
Officially. This is our first October show. We are allowed to talk playoff baseball. And I'll ask you the same question I did the last time we talked about the playoffs a couple weeks ago. Who are the Phillies potentially looking at in the first round?
Dude, it's tough because it could be the Cardinals. Right now it's the Cardinals, but it could very well be the Mets by the matter of 3 days.
How would the Mets get there?
If we are a game behind the Padres, we have the tiebreaker with them.
Oh, no. So the Padres are blowing it too. Okay.
The Padres lost 2 or 3 to the White Sox, yeah.
Okay, that's not good.
All right, I disagree, man. I think you're a bit crazy for just banking on the Cardinals, man. That's what I was
going to say. If it's the Cardinals, I'm going to stick with my guns and say they'll get killed in the second round. But I know they'll get killed by the Mets. I know
so much has changed. So much has changed since you originally said that. I hate
to me into it because the Phillies haven't done enough to keep me undivided every night since football started. Dude, hand up, not going to apologize.
Me neither. Are you kidding me? I make fun of the Phillies. We're watching. Me and my dad are watching Monday night or Thursday night football. He flips on the Phillies. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? I'd rather watch these two.
That's the difference. You flip it on. I don't.
Yeah, well, no, but that's what I'm saying. I'm like, my dad will have like the 7th inning on, and I'm like, Dad, we watching
it. That's what I'm saying. You have a positive baseball influence in your life. I got nothing of the sort. I'll check the ESPN app. I most of the times I won't even turn it on unless it's like close or it looks like an interesting game in general.
I like how you said that because you are right. Like I do have a positive baseball influence in my life. Max, let me break it down for you, and then I think you can weigh in here because I agreed with you for most of the year. But the bottom line is the Cardinals, in my humble opinion, have got that like MLB storybook magic type thing to them.
You don't want to play against the rig.
Yeah, and okay. I'm not even saying it's rigged. It's just it seems impossible for me to fathom this Phillies team going to St. Louis with Adam Wainwright, Yadier Molina, Albert Pujols doing their whole last dance thing. Because and I know like any other time it would be like dude, those guys need canes to play baseball. Somehow all 3 of them are still playing really well. I mean, you don't need me to tell you Albert Pujols is still playing really well, but those other 2 guys, they're playing really well. So that's the storyline version of it. It's St. Louis, man. That is the baseball town of baseball town USA. That's what they call it. St. Louis. They are pretty good. My one concern there that I think the Phillies could beat them is pitching. I don't think their starting pitching is lights out. That being said, they got 3 damn good starters. I think Wainwright would pitch. I think it would be Montgomery and then Quintana, if I'm not mistaken. Those guys they acquired at the deadline have been pretty damn good. And they've got two like MVP candidates. Paul Goldschmidt is going to win MVP. I'm pretty sure. They got Nolan Arenado.
Isn't he still hitting like over 320?
It's insane, man. Let me pull it up real quick.
He's having an incredible season. It will be, in my opinion. I'm always honest about my baseball knowledge level. Him and Aaron Judge have just been like,
and
Ohtani have been the guys that I've seen so much about that even me ignoring baseball actively, I still see enough stats and information about them where I'm just like, oh my God, these three guys are on a different planet this year.
I got it here. So he is hitting 318 with 35 home runs, 114 RBIs. He's got 105 runs as well. Like, this is just the guy who you don't want to be
monstrous production. That's quite literally the definition of MVP level production. Literally, it'd be well deserved.
And my favorite stat for hitting in baseball. I'm not an advanced stat guy. I love OPS plus. It takes your OPS and it prorates it to the rest of the MLB. 100 is what the most average hitter is in the MLB. Paul Goldschmidt's OPS plus is 181. So, yeah, man. Look,
I would imagine that probably nobody's higher than that. Maybe Aaron Judge, because I assume home runs.
Definitely Aaron Judge.
Home runs are probably pretty heavily weighted in a model like that.
Yeah, he's leading the National League in that. I gotta imagine it's Judge who has a higher one in the AL. But yeah, man. And then you got Arenado. So and their bullpen's so good. I don't want to face the Cardinals. I really don't. I would much rather face the Mets.
Same old song and the old choking Mets.
It is the old choking Mets. They're choking, must end the season, METS. And here's the other thing, Max. It's their big guns who are losing steam. DeGrom blowing games. Look, Scherzer's going to win this game, whatever. Like that's just going to happen. Edwin Diaz is going to kill you in the ninth inning. But the other thing with the Mets, man, if we lose to the Mets, I can live with that. It would hurt more because of it's the Mets. But in terms of baseball, it's like you guys freaking blew your division. You better beat the Phillies in the wild card round.
We can't lose. You're right. We can't.
The Mets in the wild card would be our Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
So I would take the Mets, and I think honestly, I would pick the Phillies over the Mets for Mojo's sake against the Cardinals. Like, I just look. I'm not counting out. Long story short, I think at best, and I hate to be negative, at best we make it out of the wild card round. After that, this team ain't beating the Dodgers. This team ain't beating the Braves. I'm sorry.
Dear God, no, they're not. No, they're not.
Digits, after my whole soapbox about the Cardinals and the Mets, where do you fall?
All you did was just made me feel worse about a matchup with the Cardinals because I still don't feel good about a matchup with the Mets, honestly. So now I'm firmly flip-flopping to saying the Phillies will get killed in the wild card round regardless.
Just it's good you prepare yourself now because I got the St. Louis crowd's going to be in a frenzy. It's just I got a feeling it's going to hurt. You know what I mean? It's just going to hurt, and I think we got to prepare ourselves. But proud of the team for not blowing it. They got to figure it out, though. I can't do this another year.
I'll say this: I've always said, any real championship foundation, for a team, will start with an early playoff exit. So many times you see a team kind of get killed in the first round, and just be like, damn, we were just not.
Remind you of someone? Remind you of another team in this city?
Yeah, a little bit, but I think the thing about getting knocked out early and in a relatively potentially non-competitive fashion just kind of makes you see how much better do you need to be if you want to actually have a serious chance to compete. Whereas if you don't make the playoffs, you can always just be like, we stunk at this and this and this, but you don't really see the true difference in terms of level between the teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're dead on. I think we'll certainly be seeing that true level. Look, I'm not looking forward to the actual playoffs, but getting there, that's fun.
Hey,
all right, Digits.
Not the destination.
It's everyone's favorite part of the week. I love it. Let's do it. Winners, losers, give it to me, man. The loser of week 4.
Oh, man. Hold on, give me a sec. I have this written in my phone. Oh, my God. Because, you got to remember, I didn't get to watch about 8 of the games. So I don't know all of the everything in terms of how things happened. But I would assume, based on what I did see, that yesterday's big loser was Mitch Trubisky because he made it less than a month into the season, and he's probably benched forever. The Steelers announced today that Kenny Pickett will be the guy going forward. So barring injury, Mitch is he made it literally 3.5 games on the dot as a starter again before the NFL realized that it's just not him. I like Mitch is the original Nickelodeon valuable player. He's forever part of football lore and history.
It's true.
Yesterday, you got to be feeling pretty bad if Kenny Pickett comes in, still throws for 3 interceptions, and has a clearly better game than you.
3 incompletions. Just say that. Just say that.
Yeah, it's the Madden stat line. I saw somebody call it that. Every pass completed, never throw it away.
Yeah, that's
trying to make a play, coach.
I think there's one correct loser of the week that's kind of lame, but I'll throw that in at the end. My loser of NFL Week 4 action. I just had it. Let me pull it up again. What's better than writing down your loser? Because you always forget it in the moment.
Yep.
Here we go. Oh my God, this is an odd one, man. My loser are the Green Bay Packers. What? They won the game. It's a rare flip flop. Flip flop. I remember I did this first show when the Bengals lost. I said they were the winner of the week because it was clear they had their quarterback in the future. The Packers are my loser of the week because after 3 weeks, I flip flopped. I've been flip flopping on this Packers team all season, and you know what? This might just be how it is. Did you watch that game?
I watched it via the red zone. Yes, I wasn't dedicated on it, but I saw.
Yeah.
There's only two other games on at the time, so I saw a pretty good chunk of all 3 of those games.
So going into this game, the Packers were 9.5-point favorites. I didn't take it, but I was like, oh, that's a pretty good line. I might take that. Like, they should crush the Patriots. They really, in my opinion, had no business winning that game. The Packers, to me, just got totally outplayed. Like, not even just outcoached. They got outplayed. And it starts at the front. They got run all over. Rodgers and like his communication with his receivers is terrible. Like they just look like such a disaster to me. And that's partly why I feel so good about the Eagles, because I was pretty scared of the Packers. That showing against the Patriots was embarrassing. I can't believe they won. Like, that's one of those wins where you just can't feel good about it. And look, there is an objective loser of the week. It's the Miami Dolphins. Oh my God.
Oh wow. Yeah. How did I not even?
Because it was Thursday. That's how. But the objective loser of the week, because it was too obvious. I wanted to take another one. I mean, look, you took the NFL by storm through 3 weeks. You and Tua Tagovailoa were the darlings of the NFL for 3 weeks with your rookie head coach Mike McDaniel, and now everyone's looking at you funny. Everyone is looking at you funny. A guy lost his job maybe because Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins decided to start Tua. Do I believe them when they say what they say? I kind of do believe them, but that doesn't mean they made the right decision, and someone's got to get blamed for it. And look, I understand the guy got fired, but I do think McDaniel and the Dolphins deserve a little bit more flack for it. I mean, it was awful. I mean, we all saw it. It was absolutely terrible. And I mean,
very, very uneasy to watch.
Yeah, man. And the whole, like, in our lifetimes, you and me personally have really seen a big change of the mentality of how serious head injuries are taken. And look, you don't need me to tell you, it was all over Twitter this week. NFL took a huge step backwards in terms of the whole head injury thing. And it's the Dolphins' fault, man. It's the Dolphins' fault. Not only that, they lost the game by 12, and you're going to be without Tua for who knows long. They're saying it's not as bad as it looked, but yikes, man. Yikes.
That doesn't mean much because it looked really, really bad.
It was fucking brutal. Like, it's just the optics. I think more than anything, the optics is just
isolated primetime game.
Good game too. It was a good game up to that point.
It was a good game until that happened.
Yeah, man. Dolphins objective loser of week 4, and you know what? I'll root against them all year for that. I was looking for a reason to root against them. Honestly, I just don't want the Dolphins to do well.
Little Michael Jordan, make your own motivation.
About what? About rooting against
them, yeah.
That's funny. All right, winners, man. Give it to me on the positive side. Who won NFL Week 4?
Okay, so honestly, like you kind of called them a mirage earlier, but it's got to be the Falcons, right? Like I thought that was a really the
cost
Falcons,
me money, dude. Cost me money.
I could have told. I was all over the Falcons this week. You got to text me, buddy. I think that was a really, really impressive win for the Falcons.
It was.
they overcame they did just enough against a just shorthanded enough team where like I don't really think anybody was a really major winner today, but in terms of or yesterday, but in terms of like teams that feel good, like I kind of wanted to say the Raiders, but the Raiders are 1-3. Like
I'm with you. We had the same thought. So you know what? Give a half winner to the Raiders because we both thought about them.
yeah, like I'll give the Raiders like a half win, but like yeah, the Raiders got their first win of the season. They're the winners against the division opponent. Wow, like whew, took me all day to clean that up. Right? So exactly. So I wanted to give props to to somebody else who deserves it. The Falcons had a huge goal line stand. On third down, they stopped a short run, and on fourth down, they made a nice defensive play to end the game. On fourth and goal, like a huge emotional win. They'll probably get killed next week by the Bucs because that's who they're playing, and I think it's in Tampa. Yeah. But like, kind of like the Bears earlier this year when they won Week 1 against the Niners, it was like, hey, these good times might not last for that much longer because you have the division opponent who owns you next week. Enjoy it while it lasts, and I think that's what the Falcons. I think were the winner in that regard this week.
That's a good call out, Falcons. Yeah, you got to tip your cap, man. You got to tip your cap, honestly. What's their coach's last name? Arthur Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I always remember his name is Arthur. I just remember him making a freaking fool of himself against Sirianni in Game 1. But like, I always counted the Falcons out based on pretty much that game. And yeah, you're right. That's a good shout out with the Browns team that. A lot of people buying into the hype, including myself.
I don't think the Falcons win that game with a healthy Miles, like right. Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. Like that Falcons win is the epitome of like you play who's in front of you. It doesn't matter. Injuries happen. Like those two guys will probably both be back next week, and the Browns defense will probably allow like 17 points total. You know what I mean?
Bob Murphy wants us to watch a YouTube video. Bob, I'll be sure to check that out.
We will get copyright claimed if we do that on stream. So sorry.
We will, Bob. If we play this video, we will get sued. But thanks for thinking of us with that YouTube link. Anyways, winner of the week for me, man. Oh, it's so hard to give the winner of the week to someone good. You know what I mean?
This week, I feel like there's no like standout. I
got one, man. I got one, man. It's my freaking boy. It's the real best quarterback. Take your Josh Allen propaganda and shove it. Patrick Mahomes had to remind everyone what he looked like on prime time. He was doing Patrick Mahomes things last night.
The Clyde Edwards-Helaire touchdown pass was like was all-time highlight reel. That was sick. That was I genuinely gasped in the middle of that play.
Me too. Were you on Chiefs last night?
Sure was.
I was on the Chiefs last night, and it felt so good. As you get older, you just buy less sports crap because one, you get more frugal, and two, if I'm buying anything, I'm buying Eagle stuff. But one of the last purchases I made was a fake Patrick Mahomes jersey, and I stand by it, man. I
respect it.
He's just such a great player to watch. He's going to be in the Super Bowl a few more times to break it out every February, and there's just been so much talk about the Dolphins and Lamar and the Bills and now our Eagles, and some of this talk is deserved. And Digits, you and I pump the brakes on the Eagles being the best team in the NFL. We're not doing that if the Chiefs don't put up a show like they did last night. Look, the Bucs put up 31 last night. That didn't feel like a real 31. That felt like a game.
The Bucs were never in that game. They fumbled the opening kickoff. The Chiefs scored 2 plays later, and the Chiefs rolled all night. That game was never in doubt.
Mahomes' stat line doesn't look that great, but I think he had a lot of short fields to work with.
What is it? I'm curious because I know he threw 3 or 4, right?
23 for 37. That's why I was surprised. Wow. 23 for 30. Yeah, right. It didn't feel that way watching it.
No, certainly didn't.
He threw 3.
They did convert a bunch of third downs though, so I guess it adds up.
He threw 1 interception. I don't even remember him throwing an interception, to be honest with you. Thank you, Ethan, the Steph Curry of football. My buddy was giving me a hard time because he was like, what's your slant on the Chiefs Bucs game? And I'm like, well, why'd you even ask me that? Like, I'm a Mahomes, and he's like, that's right. I should have asked the Curry/Mahomes fanboy who he was taking on Sunday. But you know what I say, Max? At least I'm a Curry Mahomes fanboy. The other option is being a LeBron Brady fanboy. Is that fair?
That is true.
Yeah. So, anyways, my winner of the week, it's Mahomes. It's the Chiefs. They're scary. Do they miss Tyreek Hill? Absolutely. But I think Mahomes, yeah, how can you not? I think Mahomes is really that guy. I think he's so good that he can. It's all right. We got guys. We got
The Chiefs are going to be the first and only team in history to successfully use two guys to replace one guy.
As in who?
Juju and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They've essentially said they're splitting the Tyreek Hill duties.
And just Travis Kelce's so freaking good. I think
Travis,
I said.
Travis Kelce. The Tampa Bay is maybe the best linebacking corps in the league, and Travis Kelce absolutely
coverage.
Yeah, especially in coverage. Travis Kelce absolutely ate them alive last night.
I gotta eat a big old plate of crow. I'll get my fork and knife out. I remember preseason when we did fantasy, I said, not high on Kelce. I think he got a lot of credit because Tyreek Hill was also out there. Whew, boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. He just eats even more now. Winners and losers. Man, that feels so good. Love doing winners and losers every week.
An obvious winner, Eagles. Only undefeated team left in the NFL. Come on.
Man. And God, they did it in such good fashion. All right, Digits, we're moving on. Word on the street. Real quick, we'll get out of here. I think we should give out a little Monday Night Football picks before we get out of here, too.
Sure, let's do it.
So word on the street. This Philly season has been blank. You said it earlier. It's didn't hold your attention, but here we are ending a 10-year drought. So this Philly, give me a word. What has this Philly season been?
This is a good one. I'm gonna say it's been satisfactory, right? Like we came into the season expecting exactly this. The Phillies will be a middling wild card team. They'll make the playoffs. We'll realize that there are still areas that need addressing on this team should we want to become true contenders. And this year will show us that. And it's gone to plan.
I hear you. And you're right. They did do what we expected them to do this year, more or less, on paper. But I think living it feels a lot different. So I'll say this Philly season has been puzzling. I find myself at the end of this year, actually, and a lot of this is dependent on how they do in the playoffs, but I mean, it's a safe assumption they're not going very far. I don't know how I feel about this team moving forward. I'm puzzled. I think I actually have more questions than I have answers. And when it all comes down to it, Digits, we talked about this throughout the whole season. Why is this year different? Why is this team going to make the playoffs compared to last year's? I said it all year. For one reason. Because there's 3 wild card spots this year because of 2. And that's exactly why. I don't feel like this team is really a playoff team. And I'm going to go over to my buddy's house, having a little Phil's Monday Night Football watch party, and we're going to celebrate like crazy if they do make the playoffs, because we should. The 10-year drought.
We deserve it. It's been a long time.
We deserve it. No, seriously. But if I'm being honest with you, if this was a real playoff team, Max, you would have been watching them. You would have been flipping to their games when football was on.
Football on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Yep, it's true. So I am puzzled. I think it's puzzling. I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm being a realist here, man. It's just a puzzling season. Here's my hot take, though, before I had to give one hot take. I can't freaking stand Rob Thompson, Max.
No.
I'm out.
It's been tough to stick by him. It's been ugly down the stretch.
And it's because of his whole
they have looked uninspired. It's not even that it's been ugly. They've looked uninspired in the most important stretch of their season.
And that's his whole shtick. And that's great for like most of the season, is how he's, I'm just a pretty calm guy. I can't get too up and down because then the team will get too up and down. No. When you are blowing a playoff game, you got to get some fire in you. And Rob Thompson is not capable of having any fire. It's just funny because Kevin Long, the hitting coach for the Phillies, he's getting tossed in games because Rob Thompson is literally incapable of like getting worked up and angry at an umpire. I need a manager who's going to get worked up and angry.
That's the only thing you have to do as a baseball manager, except for take your little golf pencil and write on 1 through 9 on a piece of paper.
It's true, and I don't even like the lineups he's been putting out. Like, I can't argue with the results, which is why it's like this is my hot take, because he's like freaking 20 games over 500, which is so impressive. But nah, man, I'm sorry. Don't.
His biggest flaw has definitely been exposed, because you don't have to worry about it. Vibes were high in the summer. Vibes like Rob Thompson has proven to be an ultimate summer vibes guy. Like, vibes are good in the summer. Hell yeah, win this game. Man. We'll crack open a cold one in the clubhouse, after. Take a shower, and then we'll crack open another 2 cold ones, and make sure you have a water before you hit the road.
Yeah, Topper's the guy who just sips on the summer shandy and he mans the grill. And people will rotate around him, but he's not gonna have more than 3 beers. You know what I mean? I mean, he'll be fun, he'll be chill, but he's just even keel. It's never gonna be like, oh, you should have seen Rob Thompson last night. No, man, he's just, what you're getting with him, which is good. But when it comes to the playoffs, when it comes to October, it's not what I want. Anyways, they just got a couple more for you. In the same tune of a big picture, but across the parking lot to the birds. This Eagle season will be a disappointment if blank. Lots of expectations all of a sudden, man. So you fill in the blank for me. What would be a disappointment for this Eagles season?
If they don't win a playoff game.
You and I are in the same boat right now.
I'll say this: if they keep the 1 seed and earn the 1 seed, I'm holding that same expectation to them. This is not make the divisional round. This is you win a playoff game, and if you blow your early lead for the 1 seed, then show me that you're not collapsing all the way through the end of the season, and you can win presumably a home playoff game. I can't imagine it won't be a home playoff in any capacity.
I mean, we're getting barring a Jalen Hurts or multiple offensive linemen getting injured, this team's gonna have a home playoff game. I feel very confident in that. And you and we're on the same exact page here. If it's a disappointment if this team does not win one playoff game, and I'm sure once the playoffs come around, we'll be talking about the Super Bowl. But I just want to. I'm keeping my same expectations. My expectations at the start of the year where this team was going to host a playoff game. They're going to win that playoff game. Beyond that, whatever. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I expected this team to look this good. Did I say 4-0? Maybe, but I kind of wavered on that. But I did say it at one point. It feels different now that we're here. And now that we're seeing some of the competition, I'm sticking with my preseason expectations. Just win the playoff game. I know we'll be talking about Super Bowl digits. I know we will be.
We will. And a month into the season, the Eagles will are deservedly one of the first teams into the Super Bowl discussion because they deserve to be. Super Bowl discussion starts after 2 weeks, basically.
We stick our ground here. We stand our ground here. Trust the process live. We're not going crazy. It's just win a playoff game, man. Here's a fun one for you. Cooper Rush is a blank QB in the NFL. There's a lot of Cooper Rush talk. We got to weigh in. Digits, what do you think?
This is funny because I brought up a certain question to you before we went live.
Oh boy.
So I will fill in this blank by saying Cooper Rush is a one placement above Dak Prescott number quarterback in the NFL because he's got the Cowboys looking rejuvenated. Dak's decision making has been slow the last 2 years, and Cooper Rush, Cooper Rush is the next great backup story as far as I'm concerned. I think Jerry Jones might have actually spoken into existence where he said, I hope Cooper Rush plays well enough for there to be a quarterback controversy. I think he might have manifested that. Dak Prescott is not going to be back for weeks. If Cooper Rush is I'll say this, if Dak Prescott is not able to return after the Cowboys lose in Philadelphia on Sunday Night Football in 2 weeks, if that's his only loss, if that's Cooper Rush's only loss is that at Eagles Sunday night game, there's a quarterback controversy. If Cooper Rush is like 6-1, it might not be deserved. Dak Prescott will probably be inserted back in, but there will be a QB controversy. And there will be, just like there's guys in Delco and just like there's guys in Port Richmond, I'm sure there's guys in the Delco and Port Richmond equivalents in the Dallas metropolitan area that are going to call into sports radio and say, Angela, we got to put Cooper Rush back in.
Oh, they're 100%. 100%.
That's everybody's favorite player. Josh is the backup quarterback.
You're right.
Our whole division has cakewalk schedules. I don't know exactly who the Cowboys play, but I assume that they probably don't have many harder games than at Eagles Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, they do. They got a hard one next week. So all right. So let me fill it in and then I'll weigh in. Cooper Rush is a backup quarterback in the NFL. Let's all stop freaking out. Real quick? Who would you rather have, Cooper Rush or Gardner Minshew?
Gardner Minshew. Back QB is all about familiarity in the system.
I'd rather have Gardner Minshew too. I think Gardner Minshew is a better quarterback than Cooper Rush. Digits. Let's quickly talk about it. Cooper Rush is going to play the LA Rams next Sunday, and he's going to get smacked around. He's going to get smacked around by the Rams next week. He's going to come to Philly on Sunday night. And you know what? I don't think he's going to be like a deer in the headlights because he's been in the NFL for 5 years now, and he's been with Dallas for 4 of those 5 years. So, like, he knows what he's getting into. But he's going to lose the game. And it's not going to look pretty. And all of a sudden, the whole quarterback controversy is over. If I'm wrong, I'm so ready to be wrong. I would love to make a bet of some sort that Cooper Rush is not 6-1. Like, this guy is going to get crushed in the next 2 weeks, and it's all over. They played bad teams. The Cowboys are good. That's the bottom line. The Cowboys are good, and I think I don't want to do it. You have to give a tiny bit of credit to Matt McCarthy for minimizing Cooper Rush's impact. And look, I will give Cooper Rush some credit too. He's much better than I expected, but he is not better than Gardner Minshew. He's not better than Teddy Bridgewater. He is better
than Dak Prescott, Josh.
He's not better than Dak Prescott. That's so crazy, Max. You don't even believe it. Do you believe it?
Prove it. I think Cooper Rush. Obviously, I'm doing a little bit of a shtick here. I think Cooper Rush can ball. I think I've seen enough.
You're right. Look,
I think Cooper Rush can ball. Is he better than Dak? No, but
here's the real question: is he better than Carson Wentz?
Oh, now that is a good question.
Put Cooper Rush on the Commanders, and what happens? I think he is.
I think it'd be the same.
Now, Matt, because I don't think Cooper Rush would lose you games. Carson Wentz loses you games.
That's true. It's true.
All right, last one.
Yeah, I don't think Cooper Rush would have done anything against the Eagles or the Cowboys defense. So I'm not gonna. I love to slander Carson Wentz at every opportunity possible, but I'll say that he's better than Dak Prescott, but not better than Carson Wentz.
All right, let's get Max's QB rankings coming out soon.
Might have to do a tier list.
Last word on the street. This is targeting for you. This is a fun one. Football in the cold rain is better than football in blank. It's a tough one to think about. Do you get what I'm saying here?
Yeah, the only thing that would have been worse than that is if it was snowing that hard, I guess.
Oh, you're wrong. That would have been better.
Dude, I've been freezing.
It would be awesome though. It'd be epic.
Yeah, no, it probably would be cool. Snow games are sick.
You would have been the beers would be flowing. Oh man.
Yeah, I'll say like a thunderstorm because then the game gets that's the only thing that can delay a game. Like yesterday was fine because it was just rain. It was nothing but rain. There was no extracurriculars, nothing else trying to steal the show. Just good old fashioned water from the sky. But if I was dealing with that and I got put into the mezzanine area for an hour and 40 minutes for a lightning delay, I'd be going ballistic.
Yeah, that's pretty.
You'd also probably be getting hammered, but
it's surprising that doesn't happen more when I think about it. I guess
football not a lot, but it feels like like the first couple weeks of college, you're good for like one weather delay a week.
It's true. I never really thought about that. My answer is football in the cold rain is better than football in a dome. I hate domes. Elliot Shore-Parks made a tweet. He made a classic Elliot Shore-Parks tweet where he just knew everyone was going to freak out because everyone on the internet is an idiot and will buy into any bait. It's hilarious. It's so fun to watch. But he made a tweet saying something to the effect of like, today's game is a great example why the Eagles should and will have a dome next time they build a stadium. And everyone like freaked out. And it's just like, no, I would so much rather deal with this slop than play football in a dome. That's not football. They're playing in a dome. Go play basketball. Oh, controlled. The weather is part of football. It's what makes it great. I'd rather have cold rain than football in a dome. Max, you don't seem to agree?
I don't know. There's merits to both sides. I personally, I think stadiums probably should have the retractable roof in general, just in some way, shape, or form, just so you can, avoid against like severe weather. But you are correct. Like football is meant to be played in the elements. I'm just talking about stuff that would delay a game, like you know what I mean, or stuff.
Yeah.
I guess you can't really measure it because on one hand I'd be like, yeah, you can allow 8 inches of snow, but no more. But you can't really do that. So I think in theory the roof's a good idea, but yeah, that would certainly take away like the allure of football. Like there's so many, so many classic, the stuff that football is built on, the frozen tundra and the ice bowl, and
especially in like this city, man. I just feel like this fan base would be like, oh, it's 2 degrees. What do I need a dome? I'm fine. I'm watching the birds. Like like I don't know. Like we've done it for years now. Why do we need
Yeah,
a
like
dome?
yesterday's a prime example why Philadelphia doesn't need a dome because there's quite literally a hurricane going on, and the stadium was still full every single seat.
Right.
Like, you don't need a dome in Philadelphia.
It costs more money. That's taxpayer dollars.
It's true. Pay for it yourself.
All right, Digits. That wraps it up. We got any tap outs? And hey, man, I'm accepting bets for tonight's game as a tap out if you want.
Well, then I can give you 2 tap outs.
Here we go.
I like the over tonight. I
What
think
is it,
that it'll
42?
get there. I think I got it at 42.5.
Yeah, I'm staying away. It feels weird.
I know that's not your fault. You asked me for a bet. You didn't say that you were going to take it. You're not my fault. You don't play over unders. I think that there's enough offensive talent on this team where I'm willing to take that number. But I'll say this: if you want a team to bet on, Kyle Shanahan absolutely owns Sean McVay. Don't know the number off the top of my head. There's a reason the 49ers are favored here. People.
Love it. Love it. I am with you on that. I'm back in the Niners. And one of my age-old adages in terms of gambling that I think would rub people like you the wrong way, Max, take the frickin' money line. It's not that much of a difference. 1.5 points. The game might end 24-23, and you'll hate yourself that you took -1.5. Take the money line. I'm going 49ers money line. It's -125. The points are -110, -115. I'll pay a couple extra bucks for the money line. I don't mess around with that point spread. But yeah, man, I'm with you on the Niners. I also think like Shanahan owns Rams, but this also feels like a desperation spot for the Niners at home after getting embarrassed. That was just such an embarrassing game last Sunday.
Also, the first game they've played since the championship game that the 49ers choked away last year.
First game, what do you mean?
This is the first time that the Rams and 49ers have played.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant the first time the Niners played. I was like, what?
No. Yeah, no. Not the Niners did not have a 3-week bye and no preseason to start. I got one other thing here before we go.
Yeah.
I shouted out Roto Baller on here before. I'm part of the writing staff over there for NBA. It is that time of the year again today. Wow. You guys can go check out my Twitter. We are posting team-by-team fantasy previews. My first one of the season, our Philadelphia 76ers, published today. I posted it on Twitter and retweeted it and stuff.
Who's your big sleeper?
I did sleeper, we did breakout, bust, and stud, and it's easy. It's the big 3. Maxi's the breakout. Harden's your bust because you don't want him around 10. He doesn't have the offensive usage that the other guys around there do. And Embiid's going to win MVP this year, so you want Joel Embiid. He's your lock. Very brave of me to take a consensus top 5 fantasy option as my lock. Or do you want to miss out on the guy who's going to win MVP this year? I sure don't. So check us out, at Rotoballer NBA. If you play daily fantasy, I'll be doing the Tuesday DFS articles all year. Probably do a midweek, weekly season-long article as well, probably for midweek streamers. If you play fantasy basketball, Roto Baller, we got you covered. I got you covered. Check us out.
I look, and hey, from me, not someone who works for any fantasy basketball. Jaden Springer, baby, get him on your fantasy basketball team. Jaden Springer breakout year. I saw the Sixers were playing the Nets in preseason tonight, and I was like, nah, I'm not putting this in the rundown.
No, preseason basketball is not my thing. They know not to. They know I'm not doing anything for preseason.
Yeah, Ben Simmons. I think Ben Simmons is going to be there. I'm not ready. I'm enjoying what we have right now.
Josh, before we go, let me ask you. The next team I have to cover, actually, the article I'm writing tonight, is for your Boston Celtics. Any nominations for those 3 categories?
Oh, gosh, dude. You know me. I'm not a huge NBA guy. I can't even keep track. I don't even know who's on that team anymore.
It's all good.
Grant Williams.
Hurt. Oh, no, he's not hurt. Not hurt. Sorry, Robert Williams is hurt.
I just said a name. Yeah, I got nothing. I'll get back to you.
I'm busting your loss. I just had to do your Celtics thing.
No,
it's kind of our Celtics now because I have to write an article about them. So, brothers in arms.
Luck. Real quick, semi-tap out here for me. As I've announced last week, I'm headed to Rochester over in November. I would love to go to an Eagles game beforehand. I saw tickets for those 2 games before I go in November. Sunday night against Dallas. Cheapest ticket is around $250. Game against the Steelers, I'm guessing you got people from Pittsburgh coming, so you got a lot of $300 cheapest ticket. I'm not asking for any handouts or anything like that, but look, I've sold on StubHub before. They take a lot of fees. I'll pay good money. If somebody's out there who might be selling and doesn't want to go through a third party and want to just, do it the old-fashioned way, maybe we can come to a price, and I would be happy to both of us avoid some fees, and I can watch an Eagles game before I'm out of here. That's my tap out, because
That's
I've
a reasonable thing. He's
sold
all
on StubHub before, man. Yeah.
No, dude, ticketing is the biggest scam ever. It is insane.
Dude, I went on and I'm like, okay, Sunday night against Dallas, what's it going to be? 140, 150 plus fees, whatever, man. I'm going to be in New York. Like, I'll buy it. I'll spend that money and it'll be the best night, like, before I head out. Go Birds. And it was 250 before fees.
I'm not so surprised by that. I'm more surprised that the Steelers game is more expensive. Dude, prime time against the Cowboys, like that's the most marquee game that you can sell as the Eagles as an organization, right? Like
people,
I'm not surprised at all.
Prime time, man. People hate prime time. That's why the tickets are always.
It's prime time is not really doable if you don't, if you don't really live within Philadelphia itself or damn close to it.
Just thought of another Eagles game I went to. It was Monday Night Football against the Giants when we went on the 7-win streak. People were selling tickets to that game for $50 because it was cold, it was rainy, it was snowing, and old men got to go to bed and go to work the next day. So, like,
oh yeah,
maybe I'll get another situation like that. But yeah, I mean, I would love to go to another Eagles game. That's gonna wrap it up, Banners. Hope you're doing all right, man. We'll check in on you in a minute, but go Niners.
Or truck, I should say.
Yeah, go Niners. Go Birds. Go Phils. Go Diamondbacks. We'll see you next week, Philly.
Big 4 tonight.
Yeah. Come on now. We'll see you.